Yeah, we're into the World Cup. Just about everybody's played one game so far. The big boys and the little guys. Everybody's there. Thoughts so far?
Yeah, I think it's been interesting. Some of the big names have kind of stepped up. Obviously, Messi's got his hat trick, and Kane's got his two, and Mbappe's got his two. Obviously, Ronaldo didn't join the party the other day. Some good results, some interesting results. So it looks like it's promising.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you thought on TV. They always come up with the fact that Argentina lost their first game last time round and went on to win. And then Spain, I think it was 2010 or whatever, drew, and then they went on to win. So, first games, I think people are nervous, squads are nervous, the whole, where they're playing, how they're playing, how they're going to play, probably has an effect. It was classically Italy always used to sort of get a 0-0 or 1-1 and a 0-0 again, and then somehow get through and end up in the semi-finals. Group stages kind of...
Italy won the World Cup in 1982. They drew their first three group games. It doesn't always signify something. It gives you a good a feel-good factor. I think that was classic, like the Scotland game. The 1-0 victory, even though they're playing Haiti, who you wouldn't say would be a strong side, there were some nervous moments for the Scots in that game, but that win obviously gives them a good platform for going forward and a good chance of coming out of the group, because pretty much if you do win one of those games in the third place teams, you've got a chance of coming out of the group.
I think that's going to be the difference. I think that when it was the two teams going through, the first game was so critical. Now only 8 teams, I think it is, are not going to qualify. So as you say, with 3 points, you've probably got a pretty good chance of going through. I think that's the way it seems to be set up. What was the best game you've seen so far?
Well, obviously not wanting to be too biased. Obviously, the England game was very exciting. A lot going on there. I thought the Germany game, they won very comfortably in the end, but it was interesting in the way that they played. So back to the Germany of old, that's kind of mechanistic sort of way. And obviously, the Argentina game was with Messi scoring a hat trick and 3 good goals as well. Even at his age, he still hasn't lost it. What have you seen?
I saw the Portugal game yesterday, and I thought, when I looked at the team, I thought Portugal have got an incredible team, incredible squad. They went 1-0 up at, I don't know, 6 minutes or something like that, and then didn't do anything. So, I mean, Congo did very, very well, really strong. I mean, there are always the African teams. I'm not sure they're going to win, but Morocco, I thought, did really well against Brazil. Congo have done well. Senegal, again, I mean, although France won comfortably, there were moments when Senegal actually, gave them a good go.
I think every tournament, the African teams become more and more competent and more tactically aware. They've got the athleticism and they've got the technical ability. So I think we'll see one of those teams go. Morocco went to the semi-final last time.
I'm not sure that gives you enough. He's a great player, but you tend to need someone who's going to get goals, like Messi and these kind of guys.
Exactly, you need a star player.
Yeah.
I mean, going back to the Portugal game, I watched him very closely in that game, and whilst the fans got very excited every time he went near the ball, he had a couple of chances, but if you're playing him, you lack mobility, you lack the ability to press from the front. If he's going to be your star player, and he's got a very good side around him, but Bernardo Silva gets taken off relatively early in the game, kind of says everything about how ineffective they.
If Ronaldo's on the pitch, there is a fear in the opposition. There's no doubt about that, and they end up, doubling up on him, which should give freedom to the other players. But I didn't really see that for Portugal, to be honest, and I thought that they would be able to take advantage of that fact that even if he was not involved in the game, there would be lots of space, and it didn't really happen. They did very, very well, I thought. Yeah, the England game was great. I mean, Spain, again, looked like they're a team that are going to grow into the tournament.
Yeah.
You know, I know they got the draw. And it was really good to see Cape Verde do something. You know, that again, they were athletic, they were strong, they didn't roll over, which has also been pretty good. I think it's only been a few countries that have really rolled over. And I think once, you know, you mentioned Germany, once they were 2 or 3 goals ahead, it was kind of difficult for Curacao to stay in the game. But
I think Portugal were like Spain, you know, a lot of very gifted technical players who play in the big leagues. But maybe there was just something, maybe a little lack of athleticism about them compared to some of the other teams.
yeah,
Not to dwell on the England game too much, but the notable that England have 3 very athletic central midfield players in Anderson, Bellingham, and Rice, and they kind of dominated the Croatians. Hence Modric being taken off.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think that again, Croatia being a very technical team, they just didn't have that strength. Although they had technical ability, the amount of ground the English guys covered seemed to really thwart Croatia really getting through. I think you've got Norway, good team, good solid team.
Mhm.
Obviously Haaland gets a couple of goals, and that's kind of his story.
Yeah.
So they'll always have a chance because he will score goals. So they could go deep into the competition.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who gets a good start, you know, a good win is probably guaranteed to make the second round. They can start thinking about maybe playing some other players from and building it. I think that helps. I mean, Tuchel's working very hard in creating a good atmosphere around the squad. And I think victories obviously help with that. And the more that players play, you read some of the old things, Jamie Carragher going to World Cups and you know, and if he had to play, it would have been a real impact negatively.
Sure. I do think actually Thomas Tuchel did pretty well with the subs yesterday. I thought it was quite positive, and even though it was a relatively tight game, and I mean obviously they got the 3rd goal early on in the second half. He didn't close it up really. He saw that, well, actually we can still get at these guys, we can still get at Croatia, and should still be on the front foot, and that was good because it's tended to be England have tended to you know, panic a little bit and start to go backwards. But he was positive.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think in the past, England have their default mode is to go back into a low block and get trapped on the edge of their area and just concede ground and then ultimately concede goals. And Tuchel, I think, recognises that. And Rice might have you know, but then he brings on Deji Spence, who's a very attacking player. You know, he brings James into central midfield. You know, so very attacking in terms of kept the momentum going and obviously paid off with Rashford's goal.
What did you think of France? They're obviously one of the favourites. I think possibly the favourite for the
I think
tournament.
they are. I mean, they've got an incredibly powerful squad. They didn't seem to fire straight away. Mbappe obviously got a couple of goals, but they'll always be there or thereabout because they're similar to England, I think, in many ways. They've got that athleticism and that technical ability. Obviously, we know a lot of their players playing the top.
I didn't think they gelled, and I thought, okay, first game they might need 2 or 3. I think they'll get better. Which sounds incredible that they won 3-1 and got 2 goals. But I think they will actually get better as the team gels. And probably, you know, I think most of the big teams will the favourites. The only one Brazil was a little bit fun. It was a little bit flat, which was a great goal by Vinny Jr. But you want to see some flair, you want to see something special happening, and they didn't seem to have anything there really.
When you look at that midfield there, Casemiro and Paquetá and Guimaraes, so 3 players we know very well from the Premier League.
Yeah.
And I'd probably favour the England central 3 to the Brazil 3. And it's interesting, normally when we played Brazil in years gone by, you haven't known all these players play in Brazil and they're all very exotic and they turn up and they look quite workaday. Like Argentina, they've got Enzo and McAllister in the league. And it kind of takes, I suppose, the fear factor out of it a little bit.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I saw the stat I heard was something like 160 plus players from the Premier League. Plus, there's the Football League. There's a lot of players
Exactly.
now with the amount of football that's played and the Premier League particularly. Most of those players are, are quite familiar to us and quite
Yeah.
familiar to each other, which maybe there aren't any, can't be very many surprises that happen. It's only going to be how they gel.
I mean, I read an article about Brazil some years ago, how Brazil, the edge of their flair has been taken away gradually because they've got so many good players that get taken into the European leagues and they became Europeanified, and they lose that flair and that kind of magic. So now you look at the team, they've got Vinicius Junior, who's their outstanding player. But you play him against Kyle Walker, if you recall. Kyle Walker had him in his pocket because imagine if ever England got as far as playing Brazil, you stick Deji Spence on the right hand side.
Yeah, I do think that's a shame that there's a movement away from, say, traditional skills. But that's what it is now. That's what it is. The other kind of thing which is amazing is that shows how the strength of the Premier League. Crystal Palace and Sunderland have more players than Real Madrid at the World Cup.
Exactly.
That is bizarre for somebody who's sort of followed football for years and years and years, thinking, how can that be?
It just shows the power of money. Even the smaller clubs in the Premier League are able to hoover up top players from all around the world. And if they've got a great director of football who really understands the international market, as it seems somebody like Palace has, hence Palace's success over the last few years. Good manager plus great acquisition of players.
No, I think the tournament's been good. It's been a better tournament than I thought it was going to be. I'm not sure about having 3 host nations. That's kind of, but it's difficult. The timing's all over the place. But I suppose once you get there, the only thing I'm really I don't like is these hydration breaks. I think that is a new development that I understand that, the thinking behind it. But when you've got, the whole technical team turn up with all the pads and this and do that, it's like, wow, it is definitely turned into quarters rather than...
And that's the last thing as a player you want, particularly when they've got air-conditioned stadiums where it's 21 degrees or 20 degrees, which is kind of a balmy day, which is a coach. But as some people, if you're being a skeptic, it's an opportunity for maybe putting an ad break in there.
That will only increase. I think Carlo Ancelotti even admitted that without that, they needed that break then to tighten up things up. Whereas normally things would have flown for 45 minutes.
Exactly.
You would have just not had another chance.
Had the dominant half, exactly.
Yeah.
They do this graph. They show the momentum in the graph, and there's a dramatic momentum change at the hydration point where one team loses momentum, the other team gets a new tactical setup, and I think it's I'm not a big fan of it. If it's really really hot,
I understand that drinks break. Yeah, that was what it was. It was a drinks break, and temperatures had to be over a certain amount. But now it just seems that they're ready, and the coaches are ready. The technical team. They've got so many technical staff now. And that's the time when you maybe would have got a second goal or press forward the advantage, and that stops, and that kind of.
I think the England fans were actually booing the other night when they.
Sure.
So I don't know if FIFA will react to that. I suppose to keep it fair for all the games, if they're doing it on the days when it's 30 degrees, they want to do it. But waiting for 3 minutes on the 20.
I think, I do like the being quicker with the goal kicks and the throw-ins and that kind of stuff is much better. And it must be difficult for the referees because they've got so many new directives. But they seem to have handled it pretty well. I mean, the first game where 3 guys got sent off, and obviously with VAR and different camera angles, you're thinking, okay, there's a case that they were all correct decisions.
But interesting, Messi doesn't get sent.
But Messi didn't get it.
And you think maybe that's more about who he is than
who he is, possibly.
That's where VAR, with their increased powers, could potentially get more involved. And
yes, I think generally the referees been good. Standards have been pretty good. They've let the game flow. It hasn't been as stop-start. And I think except for those 3 guys getting sent off in the first game, I don't think there's been too much else. If you bring if a trainer comes to look at the guy, or physio, then they have to go off the pitch for a minute.
I mean, it is good. I mean, the referees have got the toughest job in the world, right? And it's not easy being a ref, and with all the additional stuff, they don't get enough praise. I don't think they're the first person, the manager.
Yeah. Any superstars that you think it seems to be the same guys, doesn't it? Really, there's none in the first set of games that I thought, wow, there's a player. I
Yeah,
mean, it seems to be the guys we all know and love.
it does seem to be the stars coming to the fore. There's nobody who's kind of really kind of stood out there and been brilliant. I remember James Rodriguez. Do you remember we come from
Colombia,
nowhere and he stood
yeah.
out that kind of impact?
I did see a stat that the average age is higher now. So you got, I mean, obviously guys like Ronaldo and Messi even, and there's most teams have a couple of guys who are in probably the 30s, which wouldn't have happened quite so much maybe before, and that's through better expertise in medical, and probably actually also having hydration breaks as well. But the other thing that's amazing is how many people have got 100+ caps.
Oh yeah,
I mean, I know I'm going back a bit, but I remember sort of, Bobby Moore just taking over Billy Wright at 106 or something and getting that kind of number. And now it seems like every team has people who've got 100+, 110, and Messi 200 caps.
I mean, it's crazy. I think that, as you say, part of it is the health and fitness of the players. Part of it is the amount of money that they get paid. Quitting the game, once upon a time, you had to make a decision when you got to 30. Are you going to go off and run a pub or run the season? Now these players, they can just continue
Getting the
they've got a whole
paychecks.
player, so they can't afford to give
Yeah.
up. And I think there are more internationals now. There's more nations leagues. It's more structured. So the combination means people will regularly get 100 caps.
I mean, there used to be some strange guy in Saudi Arabia, which you'd understand because he'd been playing since he was 16 to whatever. But now every single team has a guy, at least one or two, who have done 50. 50 caps is almost nothing now.
Exactly.
Whereas there's a lot of England players from the past who, if they got to 35 to 50, that would be quite an
That
achievement.
was solid, yeah.
That's
Exactly.
quite an achievement.
Exactly. South Africa and Czech are the two losers from their group game. So
Yeah,
it'd be interesting to see how that comes out. Czech should do better. They're a strong side, I think. Switzerland and Bosnia and Canada, Qatar, again, not games I'd particularly be excited about, I think, unless they prove me otherwise. And then, look, obviously, I think the one Scotland, Morocco, that will be
that would be tough. I think
oh,
that. I mean, it used to be what was the group of death, and I'm not. That could be the group of death, to be honest, in
it
the
could
old
be the
days,
group of death,
because
couldn't it?
Haiti, obviously, you'd expect everybody to pick up 3 points, but
Yeah.
Morocco and Brazil, Scotland, you think would struggle. I mean, teams that I think will go. I mean, Germany should do.
They'll go deep.
Holland,
Yeah.
Holland, and Japan as well are a good team.
Japan look a good team as well. That's right. They could be the
Yeah.
dark horses, I think, in this. They've got a whole infrastructure in the country about developing the game.
Yeah.
So they've got some very good technical players.
And they're very fit.
Yeah.
They run forever. I think Belgium is another team that on paper you think, oh, they've got some good people, but I didn't see it really.
Yeah, their golden generation once. I mean, they've still got some of them around. De Bruyne is still around. Hazard, I mean, he was part of the end of the golden generation.
Sure.
So still got some good individuals, but they're not the force they were when they were ranked second in the world for quite a while.
Spain, obviously, I think will have learned from their mistakes, and will be stronger. And now decide they need to get on with it. France, I mean, obviously one of the favourites, and their kind of group, it's really them. Now they've played Senegal and won, I think they're going to kind of kick on from there. I can't see anybody messing about with Messi and Argentina in that group. I think they're going to be fine and go through. Portugal are going to have it interesting. I mean, Ghana seem to be who traditionally have been one of the better African teams. Probably aren't this year that great this year. So
yeah, they've got some good players. Got Semenyo plays up front, so they could be a danger.
France.
Yeah, I agree.
England could come very close. I mean, very close. They look a better team than the Southgate teams. I think he's done a better job.
It's taken
They
away the
weren't.
fear factor, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't. I mean, they've got nowhere yet. They haven't got out of the group, but they look like they've got enough about them to get on with it. But I think France probably just shade it. I mean, I didn't see many weaknesses, and I think once they get going, once they get play 2 or 3 games, and they get the kind of system working, I think they are the favourites actually. Yeah, Argentina can't rely on a 35 or whatever 38-year-old. Really, can you? Can you?
I
Can you
don't
do
know.
that?
He seems to be their talisman, doesn't he?
See, if we were, it was England and Argentina, I just don't see him having the space.
No.
So I'm saying France, you're saying France.
Yeah.
Let's see what we say and come up with next week, yeah? Good. Right, speak to you then. See
See you,
ya.
John. Bye bye.
Bye.